how do you be the best at anything in the world, right? Now, my name's Kevin. I've been on self-improvement for 4 years now, and I've read over 100 books, and I've studied this topic of how do you become the best for years now, like 4 years, bro. I've been critically thinking about this, and I think I found the answer from studying billionaires, reading biographies about billionaires, like Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, Rockefeller, Leonardo da Vinci, scientists, philosophers, emperors, conquerors. Like, how do we become the best at anything in the world? And I promise you, the answer is very, very, very simple, right? Now, to be the best at anything in the world is to work. But what does that mean? Work, but it's two sides of a coin, right? To be the best at anything in the world, if that's the effect, the cause is to work smart and work hard over time. So what does that mean? If you look at the best person at anything in the world, let's say Michael Jordan, right? Like, arguably, he's probably the best basketball player of all time, right? Yeah, like, I know a lot of people will debate about it, but whatever. But why is that? It's because if you strip away all the nonsense, all the BS, and you just break it down to the first principle, it's because Michael Jordan knows the most about basketball and works harder than anyone at basketball. And the third thing is he's been doing it for longer than anyone. Right? Now, of course, there are exceptions, but if someone has all three, so they work the hardest at basketball, and they know the most at basketball, and they've been doing it for the longest time, objectively, that person will be the best. Like, it's just the universe. Over time, that person will be the best. Let's take another example. Like, who's the best at football? I'm talking like English football, right? Like, people would arguably say it's Messi, right? Why? Because Messi, he knows everything about football. He knows all the skills, all the tricks, and he works harder than anyone, right? He's been practicing like dribbling and passing and all the body feints and the skills and all these things so hard. He's been doing it for, and that's the third thing, he's been doing it for decades. For decades now. So when we watch Messi play football, it's literally like watching a wizard. It's like watching a magician, right? Showing all his tricks, because he's become the best because of that equation. It's work smart and hard over time. Like, another example is like, who's the best at business, right? And I would say arguably it's Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi is arguably the best person at business, and he's gonna become a billionaire in the next few years, right? He's gonna become one of the youngest billionaires ever. It's because Alex Hormozi, he knows the most about business, right? He works the hardest at business, and he's been doing it for 10 years now. But this is the thing, like, the more time you give the person who works smart and hard, the more he becomes the best. The more that person becomes the standard, right? And I promise you, I've critically thought about this for so long, right? But I think this is the answer. Like, I can just go on and on. Like, who's the best at investing? It's probably Warren Buffett. Like, let's be honest. Why? It's because he knows everything about investing. He knows literally more than anyone in the world about investing. He works the hardest at investing. I don't know how you really work hard at investing, but he does, right? He reads like for hours and hours and hours about investing. And he's been doing it for decades. Like, he started investing. He's been doing it for like 70 or 80 years, right? The guy's like 96 years old. You see what I mean? And the thing is, if you just work smart at something, if you just like learn about something but never take action or never work hard at that thing, you'll never be the best. Maybe you might succeed, if you know a couple of skills, you might be good, right? But the difference between good to great is so massive, like it's insane, right? And the other thing, if you just work hard, yeah, maybe you'll succeed, but you also need to know how the game works. You need to know the first principles. You need to know how it works and understand the mechanics of everything, right? And if you just do it for a day or two, then let's be honest, it'll never work. So that's the equation. Smart, hard, over time. Work smart and hard over time. That's how you become the best. And the reason you can tell this is a very mature answer, it's not just a surface-based answer, is if you take any person who is the best at their field, you will see the same exact thing. They work the hardest and they work the smartest and they've done it for the most time. It's just the exact same thing. Like physics, Einstein and Newton, right? They know the most about physics and they worked the hardest on physics for the longest time, right? Like even if you look at like emperors and conquerors across history, like Alexander the Great, for example. Alexander the Great knew everything about war and battle and strategy because he had Aristotle, who was literally the smartest human on the planet at that time, right? And he worked the hardest because he went through all the brutal training for leading and leadership and actually going through battle after battle after battle. And he done it for, he started when he was like, I think like 20, he did it for like 10 years, right? So of course he's one of the greatest emperors in history. Same thing with Napoleon, same thing with Genghis Khan, same thing with Caesar and the Roman Empire, right? To become the best at everything, this is the equation. Like any field, like it's so applicable. Like if you take any person who's the best at their field, like rapping, for example, Eminem, I personally think he's the best rapper, in my opinion, right? And arguably he's the best rapper. Eminem, what he did is he's the smartest at rapping because he literally studied the entire dictionary. And rapping at first principle, the first principle of rapping is just words. Like he who knows the most words will destroy everyone because he can rhyme all the words and he can enunciate them all and make them rhyme and all these things, right? And he worked the hardest at rapping. He did album after album after album after album, recording over and over and over again and going with Dr. Dre and all these other artists, and he's been doing it for decades, right? Let's look at billionaires like Jeff Bezos. He knows the most amount about e-commerce. He worked the hardest on e-commerce and he did it for the most time, right? Like Steve Jobs with Apple, for example. Steve Jobs learned everything about computers and devices. Well, honestly, Steve Wozniak did the things for him, but he actually learned about all these things and how to make the design look really, really nice and neat, and simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? And he worked the hardest, so he kept selling and productizing and marketing and creating computer after computer after computer and creating the iPhone and the iPod and the Macintosh and teaming up with Pixar, right? And he did it for decades. Like if you take Elon Musk, for example, the richest person in the world, he probably knows the most about electric cars and space and like rockets and all these things. He works the hardest. He works like 16, 18 hours a day, right? And he's been doing it for decades, right? So for me personally, and for you, what does that mean? How do we become the best? Like for me personally, I want to be the best at self-improvement. I want to be the best at self-improvement. So what do? I learn everything I can about self-improvement, about fitness, money, relationships, psychology, philosophy, all these things, because these things I already just love learning about. I learn everything I can. I read 3-4 hours a day, right? About all these things, and watch content about self-improvement, just learn everything and be the smartest at self-improvement. And at the same time, work the hardest at self-improvement. So my entire day is just self-improvement. Working out, reading for hours, meditating, journaling, working on content, right? And doing that for, I just have to wait a very long time. That's how I become the best. That's how I will become the best. It's just, it hasn't happened yet. Like, I'm not the best yet. And the same exact thing for you, bro. Like, let's say you want to be the best at fitness. Well, you work the hardest, like every single day. You go to the gym, you track every single macro, you sleep, your sleep is on point, and you learn every single thing you can about how to maximize muscle, how to stop soreness, you know, how to maximize strength, how to lift the bar, how to have perfect technique. You learn literally everything about fitness, and you work the hardest at fitness, and you do that over time. You do that for years and years and years, and even decades, right? Right. I know the answer is like very, very simple, but it's incredibly hard to do. But it just shows us that it's possible. Like, anyone can become the best. Anyone. You don't need to be talented or to have like special gifts or whatever. You just need to work harder and work smarter than anyone else. And you're gonna have to wait a very long time. That's how you become the best. I'll give you an example, I'll give you a story here. When I was 13, right, I was very, very lonely. Like, I didn't really have any friends. I just felt very lonely, and I was like very socially anxious. I wasn't social at all. And I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book right here, right? I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this, if you don't know, like, this is like the Bible of social skills. Like, this is the Bible of making people like you, persuasion, influence, right? It's the Bible of dealing with people, right? So what I did was I read this book, and I read it once, and then I read it twice, and then a third time, and I just read it over and over and over again. Like, this is the book I have read the most. Like, you could just see it's absolutely just destroyed, right? Because I've just read it over and over and over again. Like, you can see the book is absolutely just destroyed, because I read this book, like, honestly, like 20 times, over and over and over again. And what I did was, everything I learned in this book, especially like the 6 ways to make people like you, which would be genuinely interested in other people, smile, say people's names, listen, talk in terms of the other person's interests, and give genuine praise, right? Those 6 principles, I practiced, the things I learned in this book, I practiced them with literally everyone I saw. Everyone I saw, I would smile, I would say their name, I would listen to them. And I did that over and over again for months and even years. And now I have this skill of literally making anyone my friend and anyone like me, right? Because of the equation, right? I have like tons of friends now that I just don't know what to do, because I just have so many friends, because I make people feel important. Of course, that's like the first principle, but I worked very, very hard, you know, and I worked very smart, so I read this book over and over and over again until it just became like entrenched in my mind, right? And I did that for years, and now I have tons of friends, right? So yeah. And the same thing with the gym. Like, when I first started the gym, I just got obsessed with it. I just started learning about everything. I would just learn about everything, and I was working out like 6 days a week. And I don't do that anymore now. Right now I just train like 3 to 4 days a week because it's best for me to balance like self-improvement and all these things. But that's what I used to do. Learn everything about the gym, learn everything about nutrition, learn everything about sleep and how to maximize muscle, how to maximize strength, and do that 6 days a week, no days off. And I overtrained because of just how obsessed I was. And now I have like one of the best physiques for someone my age, right? Like, I don't know if it appears like that, but yeah, I have like a pretty good physique, you know? Because I worked hard and I worked smart over time. Now, am I the best? Not yet. That's the thing. Because being the best requires you to work harder and smarter for longer than anyone else. That's the key. That's the key to being the best at anything, right? So that's what I learned. And as always, bro, we're in this together and we will make it.